can have a remarkable healing and developmental benefits as well.
That would be one way to find some comfort yourself. Or you could eat carbs.
Or we could eat comfort foods.
Andrea Hohanger, nutritionist Andrea, joining us this morning. And chances are that some of your favorite comfort foods are starchy foods, full of carbs. But carbs come in all different types of forms, and so sometimes it's just a matter of navigating what you're eating and how much you're eating of those specific carbs. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
We need carbs. How much in our diet? Is 50% a pretty good target?
Yeah, well, we say, anywhere between 45 to 65% of our total calories is what's recommended for carbohydrates, which surprises a lot of our clients because, of course, the world is filled with so many mixed messages about eating less and eliminating carbs and following a whole bunch of different diets that take carbohydrates out. So for the record, carbohydrates are good for you. We need them to run our brain.
First and foremost, our brain only functions on carbohydrates. That may surprise people, but that's the only way that we're feeding our brains.
It is. Well, and the only other way is if carbohydrates are not available in enough supply, then we start breaking down body tissue to generate what's called ketones, and that's an alternative fuel to run the brain. And people often will say, no, I feel euphoric following a ketosis-based plan, but what we know is you're not fueled for optimal good energy and concentration.
Ketones, that's an emergency procedure in our body to feed our brain, but they're toxic as well, right? Ketones do become toxic for us.
In excessive supplies.
Right.
We have to have a way to keep the body alive, but there's a more fun way to keep the body alive, and that's really learning how to not eliminate carbohydrates, but find the right balance that your body needs.
That's hard because evolutionarily, our bodies are trained or focused to, if I get that, what it was not an accessible food type, if you see carbs, load up on them. But now, because it's so accessible, we have to learn how to
And they're everywhere, and they're delicious. Part of the reason we love carbohydrates so much is because when we eat carbs, which are technically sugar to your body, you think of, pasta, rice, even fruits, veggies, your potato chips, chocolate, cookies, all of these delicious things. When we eat them, our brain has a chemical reaction with the neurotransmitter serotonin. It elevates mood to eat these things. So if we're feeling tired, sleepy, stressed, bummed out, our brain will naturally go to these things. And it's the reason why if you're having a rough day, your body will never say, hey, we should eat some eggs or some cottage cheese or sit down and have an avocado.
That's why I have all that stuff in the morning, because I know if I don't do it in the morning, then it's going to be completely loaded my day with this type of food. Which again, you're really saying moderation, not buying into diets of all sorts of fads, but moderation in what is some great carbs for you. Triscuit crackers are amazing.
Nice whole grains there.
But too many of these are going to really...
Well, here's the thing. What we know, our practice as dietitians, we specialize in emotional eating, we specialize in weight concerns and eating disorders. And so time and time again, and the research is very clear on this, the more we try to restrict enjoyable foods, the more we try to restrict carbohydrates, the more our brain will obsess about them, worry about them, count numbers, worry about where I can find them next. And when you do eventually have them, and you will eventually hunt them down because we are wired biologically to enjoy these foods, you will likely overconsume them. So a better way to go, rather than having I'm just going to cut out everything that I can't seem to manage from an overeating perspective, we work with our clients one-to-one to really make sure that we built enough carbohydrates in through the day so that you're not just going to totally lose control. And then we work with our clients a lot of, how do we manage cravings? I'm the Chocoholic dietitian, so I'm looking at this plate, I'm getting the aromas, delicious. So, oftentimes with harder to manage foods, for me as the Chocoholic or my husband as the Chipaholic, if these things are stashed in my pantry in abundant supply in 2-for-1 large family-sized bags of you name it, Halloween candies coming in.
These are always on special, right?
If there's a whole bunch of it there, every time I walk by, I'm going to eat chocolate. And so, and it goes above and beyond thinking about, trying to, rely on willpower. It's just knowing I need to manage my environment. I'm not going to eliminate these things, but I am going to make myself work a little bit harder, so it's not just super easy and accessible to go and grab it.
It's a conversation we could spend a long time on. Before we go, we've got to go. But is diary writing without calorie counting, is a diary a good tool to keep track of where you've had your comfort and now managing?
For some people, what we find, food records can bring about awareness. They can also be super obsessive if people are tracking on their apps. So it kind of depends on the person. It's knowing, is that a helpful tool for me that might curb some of what I'm doing? Or is it becoming another thing to feel bad about?
Andrea, you can get in touch with Andrea through her website, healthstandnutrition.com, because, lots of advice and, of course, coaching is accessible to work through what is good for each person, something different for every person. Andrea, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Smells good. So we're going to eat and send you out into the fog for a couple of minutes. We're back with your news headline.